Pampanga High School, the biggest high school in Central Luzon, where four-year pre-service teachers are having their off-campus class observation and practice teaching. This is also the premier high school where teachers choose to teach. This must be the reason why one of the well-known graduates of the University of the Assumption is currently teaching. She is none other than Ms. Janine Leila Bitag, a cum laude graduate of Batch 2012, Bachelor of Science in Secondary Education, major in English. Ms. Labitag is teaching English subjects among grade 10 students and a grade 8 journalism teacher, a class advisor, and the PHS school paper advisor, the Pampangan. So, our group chose Ma'am Janine Labitag to share her views in teaching and learning as a new teacher.
So, good morning po. What realities did you discover as a teacher apart from your ideals when you were still a student?
For me, if you were going to ask me with what I discovered, definitely what I learned from the classroom when I was a pre-service teacher was actually a total 360-degree turn when I turned out as a teacher. Because when you are in the classroom as a pre-service teacher, you get to know the philosophies, the theories, everything. You can memorize them, you can understand them. But you can never really know that you know these theories unless you go to the classroom and practice them. Say, for example, the theories of child and development. My teachers, of course, know with child and adolescent, with Ma'am Daphne, with my teachers and principals of teaching, all of them, they have guided me in learning these theories. But what is so different, when you go to the classroom, you will realize you never really know them unless you apply them in the classroom. Diba? Something like that.
So next po, what are the major challenges in teaching nowadays po? And give us some advices how to overcome them.
Major challenges. Number one challenge as a teacher right now in the public school, for me, the behavior of students. The students nowadays are very much different from the students that we have before. If students before, they listen very well to their teachers, especially in teaching, nowadays they are very much distracted. Because we know that the students nowadays are part of the Gen Z learners already. So they were born with technology in their hands, they have cell phones, they have different gadgets, they have their iPad, if not iPad, they have this, I don't know how they call that, if it's MP3 player during our time, but there's another name nowadays. So they have their laptop, they have their TVs, so they are very much distracted. The very challenge for you now, number one as a teacher, is how do you teach them with their behavior? Because sometimes the behavior of the students, not really sometimes, most of the time, the behavior is being affected, especially by those students who are fond of watching or playing online games. And there are also some students, because of technology, they get to see on Facebook, they imbibe whatever that attitude that they are seeing on the Facebook. So number one challenge is behavior. And then the second challenge, I think, is focus on students. Because of technology, their attention span, okay, before, if it's like 20, nowadays it's more or less 10 minutes. So it's a big challenge to the teacher. How do you get the attention of your students and focus on what you are teaching them? The third, I think, challenge for the teacher is how do you relate to your learners? Because definitely, the language of our learners nowadays is technology. You can never know how to connect with them unless you know how to connect with technology. That's why sometimes, as a teacher like me, I also incorporate technology on my teaching, on my subject. For example, in English, I have lessons where they are going to use technology, like for example, create videos, post it on Facebook so that they could have likes, which is more interesting for them as compared with the usual that is you're going to read the story, something like that. That's very ordinary. So one way I think that really challenges me is how to relate with my students by means of technology also, something like that.
So next po, what virtues or values did you learn from the University of the Assumption that became very helpful to you as a teacher?
As a teacher, and with the values and virtues shared by the University of the Assumption, I think there are a lot. who I am as a teacher right now is a byproduct of Assumption. Everything, the values from the very thing of punctuality, those things. I mentioned that during the Scholasticus also. Punctuality is, Assumption taught me to know the value of time. Every minute that you spend in the classroom, you should not waste it. You should always value every minute. Make your students learn in varied ways. There are lectures, there are activities, there are games, there are times for talking. That's the first thing. Second, of course, the value of becoming God-fearing. Because, when you go to the public school, we all know that there are instances where teachers do not teach. But if you are God-fearing, you know that you are liable to God, not anymore to the students, okay? Because first and foremost, our response is to the students. But of course, sometimes we teachers forget that, especially when we are tired. But if we know that we fear God that, for example, at the end of the day, what will you be telling God? What will you do? What did you do at the end of the day? Because on my first year of teaching, that's my first question. If at the end of the day, I can tell God that I did my part as a teacher, I have fulfilled the purpose, then definitely, I became the kind of teacher that God is asking me. So that's the second thing that I learned from UA. So fear God. The first is punctuality. Second is fear God. And the third, of course, is love your profession. Always do things in passion. So even if at times, of course, it's very tiresome, even if at times you get to be disappointed with your students, you talk and talk in the classroom, you discuss to them, you did a lot of activities for them to learn, sometimes the students are not learning. Okay, sometimes the students do not want to learn. Okay, because there are cases like that. As long as you are passionate with your job, because even me, I have experience also times that I ask myself, do I really want to pursue this profession? In my 4 years of teaching, I experienced on my second year of teaching that I asked myself, do I really want to teach? Because I experienced like, ay grabe, I'm so tired na, ayoko na, pagod na, everyday, ito na lang ginagawa ko. But if you are passionate with your job, with what you are doing, you don't regard it as parang, okay lang, may sweldo na ako, okay na yan. Sometimes you have to go back to your passion. Diba? And it's not really sometimes, every time you have to go back to your passion so that every day you wake up, you realize, ito pala yung gusto ko. Ito yung gusto ko because this is what makes me happy. This is what fulfills me. And at the same time, when you know that you are being fulfilled with what you are doing, you are also sharing a lot to other people.
Last question po. What tips can you give us, pre-service teachers, in order to inspire us to pursue our chosen career?
I have one tip. Actually, I have a lot, but I want to focus on one thing. Always go back to the reason why you became a teacher. Because sometimes in our career, the career is very demanding. There's a lot of work in the classroom, in school, at your home. There is a lot of demand. It's like I would remember Ma'am Che, my teacher before in assessment of learning. The teacher daw has many hands. You're an advisor, you're a friend, you're a guidance counselor, you're a lot. Okay, it's very demanding in a sense, being a profession. But once you know the reason why you are in this profession, you would always forget those times that you are tired. You would always forget those times that you were disappointed. So the only advice that I would recommend is always go back to the reason why you became as a teacher. And this reason will serve as your guide, will serve as your philosophy, will serve as your vision and your mission why you are going to pursue teaching in the next years of your life. But it's tiresome, it's sometimes you get disappointed, but the fulfillment of becoming a teacher, you are transforming lives, you are changing lives, diba? And if maybe they are not professions, but at least at once you have touched their lives, diba? That is already something. And I think when you face God, at the end of the day, at the end of your life, you can tell God, I made my purpose. So at least, diba? You are welcome in heaven because you did your purpose as a teacher.
So that's it po.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, thank you so much.
With this interview, we hope that the pre-service teachers were inspired and ready to face the challenges in teaching the 21st century learners. Just keep in mind what the old adage says. Teaching is not just a profession, but definitely a vocation and a mission.